All right, here is a short recap of Organization Change Theory and Practice, chapters 1 to 4, that was presented last week by Tim, Deborah, Katie, and Kenny as a way to bridge what they presented to what we're going to present for you today. So in chapter 1, Sources for Understanding Organization Change, we watched a video, and then some of the key takeaways were really that change is extremely messy even when it's planned. However, we often plan for linear change, and it looks a lot different than linear. It's nonlinear, it's chaotic, it's unpredictable. We talked about how the planning process for organization change is typically linear, but the actual implementation is non-linear. In chapter 2, we rethought organization change. Again, this was one of those graphics that kind of gives us a picture of who wants to change everybody, but who wants change everybody. But then when we actually ask individuals to change, the idea is not so popular and we're met with some resistance, which we will be discussing at length in Clay's part of the presentation today as one of those stumbling blocks when implementing organizational change. Most efforts to change do fail, and some of the reasons we discussed is that deep organization change, when you're trying to change a culture, is especially difficult. It's also difficult to convince others that change is necessary, especially if an organization looks like they're doing well. And also, our knowledge of how to plan and implement change is limited. So again, this visual showing us that even though we plan for linear, it looks more like this, where we have stumbling blocks. And we will be talking a little bit about how change looks different at different phases today. The organism as one of the metaphors, one of many metaphors that could be used. And then this quote, "It is impossible to develop new styles of organization and management while continuing to think in old ways." There were two main types of organizational change discussed as revolutionary, which would be a sudden event, and then evolutionary, which is gradual. It takes place continuously over time. We will be revisiting both of these concepts as they are reoccurring throughout the text. The how an organization occurs, and again, thinking about culture as the way we do things around here. We will be connecting to culture frequently throughout our presentation today, so considering that as the way we do things. Planned organization does require leadership. Leadership should take the form of specified roles and behaviors. It should not be the form of personality orientation. And then it's not about doing things a certain way or your own way, but it's the goal of leading change according to a specific role and sequenced events. And we're going to be talking about the structure of those events. We took some time to reflect on Flipgrid, moving to chapter 3, A Brief History of Organization Change. We touched on Taylor's scientific management. And then we thought about what approaches to the study of organization change best align with different scenarios, Taylor's scientific management, the Hawthorne studies, survey feedback. Again, we will be revisiting some of these concepts today. Chapter 4 was Theoretical Foundations of Organizations and Organization Change, where we learned about open system theory and the fact that organizations have a constant flow of energy to and then from their environment. So change might affect one area, but then that could affect everything unknowingly. We learned about the 10 characteristics of open systems. And the quote we're going to leave you with is, "When some aspect of the system is changed, other aspects eventually will be affected," which takes us into our learning for today.